Hi, this is Pat McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is listening beyond the soundbite. We have a special treat for you tonight. No actual guests in the studio. We have a Teams meeting, actually it was Zoom, with the command of the USS Vermont submarine. And they are having their very first command report of the submarine in its first year of active duty. Gary Frymer, who's the president of the USS Vermont support group, has been on our show, I think, twice now. He invited Vote for Vermont to participate in this command briefing. And what's been happening, as I just said, for the first year of their active duty. Participating in this event were the CO, the XO, and the COB. They want to share their experiences with you and talk about the crew and sometimes about their families. Following their presentation, there was a Q&A, which I participated in, and then presentation by Gary Frymer and about his group's role in building relationship between Vermonters and the crew and the families of the USS Vermont. I was so honored to be included, I can't tell you. And as you may remember from the two shows, they talked about the logo, how the ship came about, the name selection, the crew, and who's on the crew, members of the crew, where they come from. I was so touched by this command briefing, I actually volunteered to help Gary and his group. And if you feel so moved, I wish you would call them, email them, get in touch with them, and volunteer to help, because we could certainly use the help. The crew could use the help, and the families. I hope you enjoy the show.
Thank you for joining. My name is Gary Frymer. I'm the president of the USS Vermont Support Group, which you'll hear about after our briefing. And we're delighted that our command was able to carve some time out of their schedule to share with us their experiences during this first year of the boat's active duty since her commissioning in April of 2020. As noted in your invitation, the briefing will be recorded and the link made available on our website, ussvermont.org, or by email request to Wayne Pickett, who provided your invitation today. We're asking that you, again, remain muted during the exchange. Questions should be asked using the Zoom chat function, and Bob Burke will be presenting them for the command. Those attending by landline, we're asking to hold your questions until they're called for at the end of the briefing, when you can go ahead and unmute and ask them. It's my pleasure this morning to introduce the command of the USS Vermont, SSN 792. With us today is our commanding officer, Commander Charles W. Phillips III, and Chief of the Boat, Master Chief James Brownson. Gentlemen, thanks again for joining us this morning, and the floor is yours.
Hey, thanks, Gary. We are honored to be here and honored to get a chance to see the Vermont Support Group and some of the people from Vermont that are on the line. Just real quick, obviously with the boat still doing operations today, I was unable to get to my home to a better Wi-Fi where I would have liked to have done this, and I'm in my car. So can I just get a quick thumbs up? Gary, you're the video person that I see. Just make sure that I'm not too glitchy and everybody can hear. Okay, great.
Very clear.
All right, thank you very much. Well, again, happy and honored to be here and have a summary for our last 12 months of operations, which have been pretty extensive. And without further ado, I'll get started. First thing is USS Vermont has been to sea 200 days out of the last year when we went on Alpha Sea trials almost a year ago to the day. We got underway on the 15th of March, 2020. And since then, we've had 200 days at sea. And then we've got, more coming up. And so we've been averaging about 65% op tempo, which is kind of on par with about what the deployers on the normal Navy deployment rotation do for their op tempo. So, we came out, we got delivered and commissioned, and we have been out there the same amount of time as the standard, deploying submarines. So right out of the gate and moving fast. The first thing we did was we did our shakedown testing, and that's sort of the standard, exercises and testing that you do when a boat comes out of new construction. And typically that's about it, is you do your shakedown testing. And what that encompasses is the first thing it is acoustic trials down in the tongue of the ocean in the Bahamas. Effectively, we go and we do numerous runs through a set of buoys over and over again, submerged, and measure our acoustic signature, and they compare that to what the Navy is paid for and expects from Virginia-class submarines. And they do that verification that the Navy has the standard that they paid for with the submarine. And so that took about really just about 2 weeks of time to go do that. Also, while we were down there, we did our weapon systems accuracy testing. And that is where we fully certified the combat system, the sonar system, the fire control system, our photonics and imaging system. And that culminated with the exercise firing of 6 exercise ADCAP torpedoes, all which had SAT weapons placement, and the crew really came together and had a great range day. And that accomplished both certifying the weapons system for a combat readiness certification, and it completed the weapons systems accuracy testing as part of our shakedown trials. Finally, the third part of the shakedown testing that we did was our undersea electromagnetic testing. And we did that off the coast of Hollywood, Florida, on the surface for about 2 weeks, running up and down, I would say about 30 yards from shoal water, running up and down a set of buoys and doing, I think we determined we did about 120 runs back and forth on the surface along a line. And the Navy's able to utilize some new systems on the Virginia-class submarine to help with our electromagnetic signature for our ability to sort of counteract mines and those sort of things. So that's part of the testing that we also do. So those 3 aspects, which covered about 3 months worth of time, was our shakedown trials. And if you combine that with an engineering inspection, which is normal in the process, that sort of marks what I would say the standard, package of at sea time you get between new construction and post shakedown availability. To say that that was just the start of what Vermont did would be an understatement. So we have navigated every port on the East Coast. We've been in and out of Groton, Norfolk, Kings Bay, Mayport, Port Canaveral, and the Autech areas. And we've been off the coast of Port Everglades. So effectively, any port on the East Coast a submarine can go to, we have been to. We were the first Virginia-class submarine to conduct a submarine proficiency training certification with Squadron prior to PSA. And we've in fact set the new standard for that being a routine now for all follow-on Virginia-class submarines. And what that basically is after we had finished all of sea trials coming out of new construction, we went out and were certified in every area of submarine operations, from strike warfare with Tomahawks to anti-submarine and anti-surface warfare, basic submarining, tactical security, maintaining our quieting posture. We went through the full gamut, and we passed that inspection. And that inspection, combined with the satisfactory shakedown trials, allowed us to achieve the first combat readiness standard for submarines, which we call ready for tasking, which made us available for sort of all fleet tasking since July of 2020. And we think we were the first Virginia-class submarine to actually achieve a readiness for tasking status, be loaded with actual weapons. We have a small torpedo load on board, and that's given us some unprecedented new standards that Squadron 4 and Squadron 6, who own the new construction Virginia-class subs, intend to maintain going forward. So there's Team Vermont setting the standard there. We conducted Task Force Exercise 20 TAC 2 with Commander's Submarine, or correction, Carrier Strike Group 4. So we went out off the coast of the Virginia Capes areas, and we helped certify an entire carrier strike group for their deployment last July. And that, during that exercise, we provided some rabbit services that allowed them to track us. And then we also got to do 2 combat scenarios where we stationed our full battle stations watch teams in 2 4-hour combat scenarios with the carrier strike groups. And without getting into too much details, I'll tell you that Team Vermont was quite successful in our approach and attack engagements during that exercise. We've provided support services for 4 other submarines during their deployment workups and various inspections that they're required to do. They always go well when you get to play against another submarine, and so we provided those services. Team Vermont won a competition and training exercise at Naval Submarine School against a fellow peer competitor submarine. We conducted a theater anti-submarine warfare certification with Commander Submarine Squadron 4 to certify us for operations in support of maritime homeland defense as a response platform in case any of our peer competitors find their way into the Western Atlantic. And that concluded operations with the USS Cole and P-8, aviation squadrons. And just after we did that certification, we actually conducted a mini deployment to Southcom, where we headed down to do a theater anti-submarine warfare exercise with the Brazilian submarine SS Tupi. And we also were the first United States submarine and first nuclear submarine to pull into the new submarine base in Itaguaí, Brazil, where they're planning to serve as their main submarine base for 5 brand new diesel submarines that they're building. I should say 4, with the hope that the 5th one is actually a nuclear platform. So while we were there, we did a crossing the line ceremony for over 100 crew members that COVID safe became shellbacks. We did the ASW exercise. We had a Brazilian national embarked for the entire transit down to Brazil, and we got to do some partnership learning between the two nations with a submarine officer from them with our team. We hosted President Bolsonaro and his cabinet on board for a tour of USS Vermont, which included gifts that included maple syrup provided by the Vermont Commissioning Committee that were given to President Bolsonaro and his staff. And that really was the president, his Secretary of Defense, his Chief of Naval Operations, and then 4 other cabinet members were on board for that tour. And then I also hosted a tour with 5 fellow commanding officers from the submarine force that was after the first tour with President Bolsonaro. And while we were down there, I was able to attend the launching ceremony for their SS-41, which is the 2nd of their 5 new submarines, and then their final assembly ceremony for SS-42, which is the 3rd of the 5. And so we were able to be there. And during the tour as well, we had Ambassador Todd Chapman, for the U.S. Ambassador to Brazil, and Vice Admiral Daryl Caudill, who is the submarine force commander, in attendance on the tour. Once we returned, we had a very quick 2-week break for the holiday stand down, and then we were back out to sea, finishing up some of the shakedown testing I discussed earlier. And then we did a security exercise with our SSBN force to help improve them with some of their future tactics. And now we're in the preparation and certification phase for a mini deployment over to UCOM, where we'll be conducting a very high visibility exercise and port visit overseas. And then that is going to mark, I believe, the first submarine deployment with a fully vaccinated crew. And we also have requested and been approved to take 2 female junior officers underway with us on the deployment to continue improving the integration in submarines, to say that not only do we have fully integrated subs, but we also have the capability of bringing female officers underway on non-integrated submarines with approval, and we'll be doing that during this deployment. Summer operations are planned through June and July based on some changes to the post-shakedown availability schedule. And I think we'll be looking at, from start to finish, almost 15 to 16 months of underway and at sea time, or operational time, before going into PSA, the post-shakedown availability back at Electric Boat. And just sort of for perspective, the normal standard period of time is about 3 to 4 months, and we'll be at 15 to 16. So very highly proficient crew, a lot of days at sea. We'll probably have over 250 to 260 days at sea when all of this is done for. And then we'll be back into PSA for about 6 months before we finish that in what I believe is probably around the February, March of 2022 timeframe, and start workups for the ship's maiden deployment, which will occur approximately 1 year later once we get to our ultimate home port. So pretty long list of things that we've done. 2 mini deployments to 2 different COCOMs, the completion of all shakedown trials, multiple assists and certifications of other boats in their deployments, and you know, the exercises with the SSBN force, and then 2 you know, sort of major maintenance availabilities here in Groton, one between September and October, and one now that we're doing between February and March. So that's kind of the list of what I have. And Cobb, I'll turn it over to you if there's anything you want to add on or, you know, discuss further about our last year.
No, sir, you summed it up very well. You know, the last year for the crew has been, you know, very remarkable. They've 134 sailors, and some have been coming in and out over the year. The crew has performed well and integrated well, and you know, we appreciate the support that we get from the Vermont committee.
Okay,
Yeah,
Bob?
Cobb, Gary, I'll definitely echo that. The support from the commissioning committee and the support group has been phenomenal over the last year. And we're just really happy and proud to represent the state of Vermont. Over to you.
Very well. And let's, Bob, how about questions that arrived on the chat for the command?
None so far. Okay, so what's the ultimate home port from for the boat?
Yeah, thanks for that. So we believe right now the ultimate home port that we'll go to in the first quarter of 2022 is going to be Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. And that's what we're planning to right now. And, you know, we did have a change of home port letter, but based on some of the delays going into PSA, that's been deferred until we're able to sort of finalize our schedule. So right now we know that we will be going to Pearl Harbor, but a formal change of home port letter has not been issued yet.
That's great. Somebody asked, you mentioned working with some P8s, but have you worked with any MH-60Rs with the dipping sonar yet? Asking from an old SH-60B driver.
Yeah, for that. Absolutely. When we did the exercise with Carrier Strike Group 4, we definitely, you know, had the 60s and the P8s that were out there. And they are both very capable platforms that make life very challenging for us if we try and go to periscope depth. So we enjoy the training with them, and they're great to have on our team. I'll leave it at that.
That's great. So somebody noticed that the Vermont was back Christmas Eve morning last year. Was that always the plan, or was it just fortunate to be able to do that?
We were fortunate to be able to do that. When we came out of Brazil, we were able to negotiate going a little bit faster so we could get home for Christmas, and we were able to work that out with our commanders so we could bring the ship home.
That's great. Especially in a time of COVID, do you want to talk a little bit about the crossing the line ceremony?
Sure, thank you. For those of you that have done a crossing the line ceremony before, we did our best to maintain the traditions while making sure that we maintained as much social distancing as possible, maintain the crew in masks, and if there was any use of food products, that there was, I guess the way I'll phrase it is, you know, disposable use every single time is how we'll leave it. So lots of individual saran wrap used for each sailor to make sure that there was no cross-contamination and everyone stayed COVID safe.
Sounds fun. Admiral Costello asked about the UCOM deployment. Are you going to be working with any allied subs in the exercise, or Sixth Fleet or others?
So kind of due to the nature of submarine operations, it'll be tough to discuss the upcoming exercise now. But once the exercise is complete, I think you should see some Navy press articles about it. and we'll be able to provide more of a summary, in the next opportunity we have to chat.
Okay, Admiral Perry, yes. Captain Chief of the boat, congratulations to you and your crew on a very successful high up-tempo run right out of the blocks. Can you talk about how you've managed COVID with your ops, port calls, and work with foreign navies?
Absolutely. So, COVID has been a challenge, but I'll come out and say that USS Vermont has not missed any operational tasking due to COVID-19. And we've been able to work really hard. And, our corpsman, Doc Arenas, has done a really good job of providing excellent recommendations to the command team on how to manage people that may have, any sort of, a symptom for kind of that influenza like. So, there's a lot of triaging that we do at the command level because, anytime someone may have just a fever associated with a cold, you kind of have to treat that as someone that you want to make sure you take the right precautions for. So we behave a lot differently on submarines these days. Kind of the old adage of, toughen it up and get on to cruise mess and attend training is a lot different these days. And the sailors know if they don't feel well, they call in and talk to the corpsman, and they get an opportunity to remain at home until their symptoms are clear. We do temperature checks daily at the brow, and in the local Groton area, we've been in, what's called health protection condition Charlie, really the entire year, with the exception of about a month in the summer while we were out to sea. And there's some rules there that restrict what the sailors can and can't do in the local area. So kind of what you should take from how that works is for us, it's home to work only with essential stops outside. So grocery store, gas, things that, you need to do. But there's not a lot of, hey, I'm going to go over to my friend's house for an afternoon backyard barbecue. Those kind of things we're waiting on until the conditions get better. Because of our upcoming exercises in UCOM, we were one of the first boats in the Groton area to be offered the vaccine. So the crew is fully immunized at this point, and that has really made things significantly easier on board for us. And, the Navy's put out some guidance on things that you can do and, modifications to a pre-deployment isolation and quarantine that we're able to take advantage of. So the crew gets to kind of enjoy the last 2 weeks before we deploy with their families instead of on a berthing barge here on the pier. And so that's been quite helpful. But, overall, as again, summarizing, we've missed 0 operational days due to COVID. It's something that we have to work through and think about every day and make sure that you're taking the right level of precautions. But, we're looking forward, I think, next to when the Navy modifies maybe some travel policy for those that have been immunized, so the crew can have a chance to get out throughout the country and see their family and loved ones that they haven't had a chance to see in the past year.
Well, thanks for that. That's a great segue into this next question for you, Captain Norfolk Cobb. Can you talk about caring for families while this high up tempo is ongoing?
Yeah, you bet. Cobb, do you want to take that one?
Oh, sure, sir. The families have a family support group established. So our family support group is led by the FRG president. It was Miss Moore, and I believe right now she's getting ready to transfer. And I can't remember who the new president coming in is, but then the ombudsman also assists in the command support team. So the command support team consists of the CO's wife, my wife, and the XO's wife. As things change or a family situation arises when we're at sea, that is the core group of people who can step in and assist a spouse with any of the issues. And we've had a few of those pop up, and the ombudsman has done a great job of going in and assessing what is needed to be done there, and providing assistance to the sailor or their spouse. And we've had a couple of sailors that had to do hemovac type where they had a situation that arose that we were able to support them traveling back from a distance when we were at sea. But for the majority of the time when something like that happened, this family support group have stepped in and figured out what needed to be accomplished and kind of provided support to that sailor and their spouse while the ship was at sea.
That's great. Thanks, Cobb. So somebody has a question about the kind of 6-hour segments and 6 hours of training every day. What's that training comprised of? It appears, you have a relatively young crew, but they matured pretty quickly.
So I think you're referring to the 6-hour underway watch bills, which recently or over the last several years, the Navy has kind of shifted to an 8-hour underway watch section. So essentially every 8 hours, the watch section will turn over to a different watch section. So there's every individual essentially stands 8 hours of watch a day and then has 16 hours off. So that has really helped a lot with the morale in the crew, and definitely the amount of energy and effort that people have, because they kind of sleep at the same time every night. That has definitely had a positive impact on the crew members, and from that standpoint, it does make training a little bit more difficult, as sometimes we have to adapt our training sessions for the individuals that, like the CEO and myself, typically we sleep at night. So eventually we will have to shift some training schedules around where we might have to do a training late into the evening or even after midnight. But it has worked well, and the training has not suffered. The crew, we still do the same type of fire drills and things like that for any submariners that can remember that kind of stuff. We still do the same training within the watch sections and in the divisional type training, but it still allows us to be able to carry out our training objectives very efficiently.
That's great. A lot of Bravo Zulus going on in the chat, so hopefully you get a chance to take a look at those.
I'll jump in real quick, and I forgot to mention, because some of our deployments have been, sort of mini deployments, the Naval Submarine Medical Research Laboratory has reached out to us and asked if we would volunteer Vermont for them to do some of their research projects in underway, sleep studies and atmosphere studies. And so during the Southcom deployment to Brazil, we brought a undersea medical officer with us that was doing a sleep study. And, he passed out some glasses that the special forces use that basically provide blue light. And so it almost looked like we were in a Tron movie. We were wearing these glasses that had blue light right above your eyes. And that's supposed to help out in the morning, right when you wake up. And then we had orange glasses that you put on right before bed, which are supposed to help you, sort of wind down better. And so about 40% of the crew participated in that. And that was interesting to see. And kind of trying to take it to the next level. We shifted, like the Cobb said, from 6 to 8 hours. So everyone gets that normal circadian rhythm, but still trying to, advance the ball down the field 1% and make us more combat lethal. We definitely were testing out these glasses. And, there was one opportunity where we were doing at battle stations, and it was, during my normal rest time, and I hopped up and put the glasses on. And I could definitely tell, right away that I was a little bit more, right out of the gate, ready to start working with the XO on going after the computer adversary that we had put in. So kind of interesting. And then we've got another group coming on for this next mini deployment over to Yukon, doing some atmosphere studies as well. So definitely helping out on the research side there too.
Will sound like great opportunities. Any other questions out there?
We'd also like folks on landlines, if you haven't had an opportunity to ask a question, please unmute and ask them now. And no other questions on the chat, Bob?
There are not at the moment.
Okay. Okay, well, once
I have
again,
one.
let's go ahead.
Sorry, I was dealing with the double mute. Still getting used to Zoom. I just want to know, this is either one of for you guys. Can either of you discuss how a Virginia-class boat copes with the damage control efforts now that most of the boat is digital and electronic? Now, I'm framing this question from being a former 688 first flight sailor myself. I was a sonar technician on the USS Groton. I got out in '97. So I'm just trying to deal with my mental picture of what it used to be like on a first flight to what it is now that everything is new and advanced.
Yeah, I could probably answer that. You know, a Virginia class compared to an older 688. So, you know, when I first got to my first 688 back in the mid 90s, the construction of the control room really did not have a lot of computer monitors and that kind of stuff in it. It was mostly older style green screens, if you remember, if that's what we used to call them. You know, not a lot of digital electronics, not a lot of digital displays. You know, with the technology with the Virginia class, what a leap forward! You know, everywhere you turn is a computer or computer screen. The ship's control system is essentially a computer system. But the Navy has done a great job, and the EB has done a great job of designing those systems with a ton of redundancy. So, you know, anytime that there's a power shift or, you know, any sort of, disturbance to the electric plant, those systems are designed to automatically shift over supplies and that battery backup. So, you know, when you walk into a control room of a Virginia-class submarine, just the technology that exists in that control room compared to the older submarines, it's such a marked jump forward. You know, every operator at every station in the control room has basically any indication from sonar, from fire control at the tip of his fingers, and it really allows you as a operator or as a watch officer to really have a good situational awareness of what's going on around you and make decisions, and the functionality of those systems are just continue to improve every day.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, from a situational awareness and communication standpoint, sort of kind of the wave of the future is we've graduated from the sound powered phones that plug in and the electrical assistants trying to chase down the wireless devices for our communications, and we use that every day as well. I have a man on the move communicator that's a small pocket cell phone that I clip right here in my uniform, and I walk throughout the ship with it, and anyone can call me on it at any time to request permission, get a report. And the XO, when he runs down to the casualty, he can just pick that up and call right into DC Central. And the backup to that is a WIFCOM, which is more like a kind of more of a walkie-talkie. But those two right there provide significant mobility for us to be able to go throughout the ship and communicate. And from a situational awareness piece, in the control room, we have displays like the Cobb was talking about that let us know what the parameters are throughout the ship. So, we have that ability to understand, localize, and get damage control resources there quickly, and then they're able to easily communicate back in, and everything runs very seamlessly.
Thank you very much.
Great. So the Lieutenant Governor's office is on. The Lieutenant Governor herself, Molly Gray. She's sorry she wasn't able to join today, but asked that her well wishes be passed on and deep appreciation for service. She hopes that she can welcome the crew and their families to Vermont when the time is right, and get to see the State House.
Well, thank you very much for that. We're really looking forward to an opportunity to come up to Vermont and get a chance to meet everybody and see all the great sites up there.
Stand by. Catherine Becker Van Haast from Senator Sanders' office would like to say something. Go ahead, Catherine.
Thanks, Bob. Hi, Catherine Becker Van Haste, Senator Bernie Sanders, State Director. Sorry for the backlighting. I just wanted to again say thank you for all of your work on behalf of the USS Vermont, both to the USS Vermont Commissioning Committee and all the supporters here stateside, and to you and the crew for your great work. Bernie also sends his well wishes for many safe returns, and we also hope to see you in Vermont. As I'm sure you know, we have a excellent 4th of July parade at the State House, and it's been our honor to welcome former crews, and I think some of your folks have come in the past. I'm not sure if you were there back a couple years ago pre-COVID, but hopefully that will be a thing we can do again, and see everybody in person. So thank you also for just updating all of us Vermonters on your good work.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Catherine.
I know the Cobb got to go up there a couple years ago and enjoy 4th of July, and said it was a great highlight, and I'm really looking forward to the opportunity in the future as well.
Any more questions, Bob?
There are not. As I said, a lot of congratulations and Bravo Zulus out there.
Okay, very well. Well, once again, let's thank Commander Phillips and Cobb Brownson for their participation today. I think the briefing did a really great job of making us aware of the dynamic operational tempo our namesake boat has been asked to maintain. And as always, we thank the command representing all the officers and crew of the USS Vermont SSN 792 for their service, which does great honor to the state of Vermont. Now, one advertisement before I introduce the VSG. We've had the good fortune to having native Vermonter Rear Admiral Douglas Perry, currently the commander of Subgroup 9, with responsibility for coordinating all submarine matters in the Pacific Northwest. Doug offered to provide us with an overview of sub-ops in the Pacific. So Doug's father, Al Perry, who's on, and many of you know, is a member of both the VCC and the USS Vermont Support Group. And he and his family have performed over 150 years of service in our nation's defense, most of it with submarines. So we're always proud to be associated with the Perry family, that's for sure. Admiral Perry's Zoom briefing will be scheduled in the near future, and we'll make sure the attendees of today's session, along with those who request a recording of it, receive an invitation. So we'll finish up now with a brief introduction to the VSG and how you can get involved and be part of supporting our namesake sub, her crew, and families. So, as you see, I'm not going to read this to you, but the VCC formed the base of the Vermont Support Group, along with Gloria Valdez, our sponsor, and other Vermonters. And we're mission to support the boat, crew, and the families over their active service life, expected to be 30+ years. And that support will come from folks like you, as well as associations and businesses here in Vermont. Our objectives include growing support from Vermonters and others through outreach programs, and we'll use some of these programs to educate Vermonters about our boat and what it's been called on to do in our nation's defense. Establishing connections between the boat and the state will help us achieve that mission. And as a 501c3 charity, of course, we'll need to continue fundraising activities to be able to support events, crew travel, and programs like the Sunshine Bags and Dewey Bears. The MARN FRG, I think the Cobb did a great job of describing it. The Family Readiness Group is made up of the sailors' wives, and they kind of provide a mutual support group, particularly valuable to new Navy families. So the VSG provided canvas sunshine bags to the FRG with USS Vermont SSN 792 on one side and Vermont's Freedom and Unity motto on the other. And those bags will hold gifts for incoming sailors to the USS Vermont family and give our new honorary Vermonters a taste of what their namesake state has to offer. We also provide Dewey Bears from Vermont Teddy Bear in partnership with the VSG to the FRG so that all new crew babies will have an opportunity to have a Dewey Bear. For the crew, the MWR is the USS Vermont Sailors Morale, Welfare, and Recreation Committee, and they support a variety of things from parties and picnics to buying a ship's camera and producing commemorative coins. One of the things the VSG did for the MWR and the boat was we partnered with Vermont Country Store and provided some snacks for their halfway/holiday boxes that were opened around the midpoint of their foreign relations deployment to Brazil in December. And for Vermonters, today's briefing and various interviews by VSG members, along with communications from our partners, are the means by which we'll continue to keep you informed about what the boat's doing. We're here for the long term, and as such, we struck a couple long-term partnerships with more to come. Vermont's Maple Sugar Makers and Vermont Specialty Foods Association, for example, recently stepped up to provide Taste of Vermont for the incoming Sailor's Sunshine Bags. Each year, for example, one of the 12 syrup-producing counties in Vermont will provide 50 pints of syrup to the FRG for their Sunshine Bags. 2021 is Orange County, 2022 is Lamoille, and we believe 2023 will be Addison County. So this approach gives each of the 12 counties an opportunity for recognition as that year's maple syrup supplier to the FRG for welcome gifts for our new honorary Vermonters. We'll also capture segments from today's briefing and merge them with other video clips to produce a video targeted for grade schools. The goal is to provide some history of the 3 USS Vermonts, introduce our Virginia class sub, and hopefully stimulate some early interest in STEM education and maybe even plant a seed that encourages a student to become a future submariner. So we're all anxious to have travel restrictions eased so we can bring the crew members up to Vermont and meet with our governor, supporter, and take advantage of recreation and some of the outdoor activities we have to offer. We've also reached out to the Vermont State Assembly to give its new members background on the USS Vermont, SSN 792, and the folks that support it. We recently met with Lieutenant Governor Molly Gray, and with her focus on promoting Vermont recreation to attract folks to the state, she was quick to add her support to a project we have underway to get Vermont recreation posters on the wall at Cruise Mess. By the way, the Cruise Mess on board is named the Catamount Lounge. So how do you get involved with the VSG to support our boat crew and families? Just respond to the email you receive with the invitation to this briefing and with your contact information, and you'll receive a welcome letter. All Vermonters and other folks interested in the USS Vermont are welcome. And by coming on board with us, you'll be kept aware of new programs like this one to keep you informed about the USS Vermont, the VSG's projects supporting it. And we'll certainly welcome any new ideas to help with our mission. And we'll be very proud to count you among our members. So any questions for me today? If not, then we'll thank you for attending. And as we say to our sailors, everyone stay safe and Vermont strong. Thanks again for joining and have a great day.
Hoo-yah, Green Mountain State.
Hoo-yah.
Thank you, CO and Cobb. Great job.
Thank you. It was an honor to be here.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. We'll
Great
be
job.
closing the meeting now.